Thanks for coming to this abbreviated session of the concepts of prevailing wage and certified payroll. This should take about 9 minutes. The subjects for today are going to be divided into prevailing wage and certified payroll. Often these terms are brought together as one consideration, and they are often required on the same types of projects. We're going to separate them just for sake of clarity in which each of them mean. As it pertains to prevailing wage or prevailing wages, first, most important, thoroughly check your bid paperwork. Ask for a craft or a classification from the general contractor. Is this work covered under a prevailing wage category that you already have determined, such as a glazer or a paper hanger? That classification can have broad impacts on your prevailing wage cost to do the work. Understand that prevailing wage levels the playing field. It makes sure that people that are doing work for government agencies are getting paid a reasonable wage, and they're all getting paid the same wage. So it becomes a matter of who can do the work most efficiently, not who can pass on their cost savings and reduce their wages. Note also that prevailing wage may include the wages and benefits and other compensation. You may be governed under the Davis-Bacon Act for federally funded projects, or you may have a state prevailing wage, or both. Most importantly, do not think you're going to outsmart the system by classifying somebody as a laborer or an apprentice because you see that their rate's a lot lower and they're kind of doing laborer kind of work. The work and the wage are defined by the system. Consider now certified payroll. Certified payroll is, simply put, you pay weekly payroll and you certify that it was paid according to the wage determination and the prevailing wage. You have to certify that you have indeed paid already the wages you're now being asked, or now asking the general contractor to pay to you. This affects your cash flow as you have to pay out before you receive in. Some things you can do is ask for a progress payment. Once the film is delivered to the job site, get a partial payment for that. Understand, if you look at the certified payroll requirements, they're not that complicated, but if you do it wrong, you're not going to get paid. The most complicated part of wage determination can be just looking at the tables and the examples and how do you understand what is the wage I should consider for my project. Here's an example of a wage determination that is for a glazer, and there are three categories: a journeyman, who's somebody who's capable of doing the work unsupervised, and then a foreman, a supervisor, and a general foreman who's managing a project. Another example, this is a prevailing wage schedule for Cole County, and by occupational title, what is the basic hourly rate and what are the fringe benefits, and those must be added together to get the total wage that you're committed to pay through certified payroll. Here's another example of a county prevailing wage schedule for a glazer, showing the increase in $23.5 per hour plus a dollar to make sure that you, if you're bidding a project in 2016, you have $25.50 per hour. Here's another prevailing wage determination, and this is again for a glazer, showing that, for example, on Sundays and holidays, if they're working Sundays and holidays, you have a $93.97 per hour hourly wage that you must certify that you paid during that certified payroll period. Again, certified payroll is certifying you already paid that every week. Here's another example of a glazer. The rate is $33.79. Now, if you consider that your rate when you bid the job, when you fill out the prevailing wage and certified payroll, you'd have to include the $22.49 fringe benefit. So you may end up terribly upside down in your installation wage if you considered only the $33.79 as your wage determination. So you can see through these examples that there are many ways to express a prevailing hourly wage, and make sure that whether it's governed by Davis-Bacon for federal projects or county prevailing wage or state prevailing wage, make sure you understand what your category is and what your hourly wage is that you're going to have to certify. So taking into account those are the prevailing wages, what are you required to pay per hour, not per square foot? Let's consider the second half, the certified payroll. So we've discussed what is the prevailing wage. How much must you pay per hour? The certified payroll portion of it is technically optional, although many times you see them together. The certified payroll is not the second half of prevailing wage. It's another thing, and it is technically optional, although most often required with prevailing wage. This format or this form is used to confirm that you've already paid the people doing the work. It is a complex system, but there are a lot of easy helps out there. Some links here that you can go to find out more about certified payroll. Don't do certified payroll if it's not required of you. For many reasons, cash flow and compliance, make sure that it is required before you do it. But if it is required, let us help you do it. Here's an example of the Form 347, the certified payroll form. And you can see on here there is a requirement for the name and Social Security identification, the classification of the work. How many hours did that employee work in that week, and what was their rate of pay? This has to match the prevailing wage schedule. How much did they earn? Did you have any withholdings? And what was their net wages? So you would fill this out for every week for all of the people on your project. The second half of it is you affirming that everything you said is true, that all the hourly wages, you've determined them to the best of your ability, and everything you've said about what has already been paid has been paid. So we look at this portfolio of prevailing wage and certified payroll. We separate them, although we admit they often come back together, but they are different topics. The prevailing wage says whether you think this is prevailing wage or not, this is what we require. Now, is it a prevailing wage to pay $100 an hour to install window film? It's not relevant. The governmental agency has determined that window film installers might be covered under a glazer, and a glazer makes $93.90 on a holiday. They might say they're covered under a paper hanger, who may make less, but the government has decided this is the category and this is the hourly wage. That's the prevailing wage. The certified payroll is before we pay you as a contractor or subcontractor, you have to prove to us you've already paid your installers. Any questions about this or any EDGE training program, just email us at training@programedge.com.